my bottom third worked for about 3 seconds.
Okay, so we are online. Hello and welcome to Cyrils Brettspiele. Today we have a panel of board game experts with Lance Myxter, Undead Viking, Travis Chance from Action Phase Games, and me, Nils Herzmann from Cyrils Brettspiele. Today we have a special episode. We are talking about a pre-GenCon to be exactly series, and we are talking about our top 3 most exciting convention moments. So I would say, Travis, please introduce yourself a little bit and talk just for a couple of minutes about yourself, and then we can go from there with your top 3, and we introduce Lance and me and all that stuff.
Okay, well, hi, my name is Travis. I'm an alcoholic.
Looks like.
Wow.
I just got back from a bar and I'm a little ripped right now, but I'll be okay. We had a launch party today, so yeah. So
Did you say a lush party or launch party?
We had a party for Luscious Jackson. I am a game designer / publisher for Action Phase Games. It's a little label, a little publisher label that I own / operate / design for. I've got 4 games out in the world at this point. I've got a Kickstarter that just launched today, but it's actually our first outside design. And I don't know. I love Nils. I just like Nils and Lance. These are 2 people that I like. That's all I have to say about myself.
Well, we should mention that Travis is, like he said, but he's downplaying the fact that he is a regular, if not guest, if not co-host of my weekly Alaboom podcast, and he is also, I guess, technically a Google Hangout, and plus he and I do a bi-weekly Google Hangout called Prolixonomicon, where he tries to wind me up and drive me crazy with his ridiculous.
Right, successfully wind him up and drive him crazy. You would never give me the satisfaction of admitting that I do it, but I definitely do it.
And he did that in the past.
Yes, he has. But no, he is definitely a board game media person, if you will, who just happens
to
publish games.
So, Lance, who you are? I guess my German audience have maybe never heard about your real name.
Well, Lance Myxter. It is a very Norwegian name, since I'm almost full-blooded Norwegian. I've got a little French and a little Slav mixed in there, but other than that, I am like 7/8 Norwegian or something like that. I don't know what the exact percentage, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, that's my real name, Lance Myxter. I don't know why that matters, but whatever. So.
And you are well known as the Undead Viking, right?
The Undead Viking, yes, that is the name I chose for my review series way back in the day, and the reason for it has been lost in the ages of time. No, actually, what happened was when I went to be on Board Game Geek, the normal nomenclature avatar name that I usually picked was taken. I usually always would take the name Fortinbras, which was the name of the Norwegian prince in the Shakespearean play Hamlet. And I always thought because he was Norwegian, and it was just kind of like, I'm Norwegian. And then since that was taken, I was currently playing a character on a City of Heroes or City of Villains, the massive online, the MMORPG, if you will, and I had a big giant undead zombie Viking that was running around and killing heroes, and so I just said, well, okay, fine, I'll just name myself after that.
Okay.
And then it just kind of took off from there. So there you go.
Sounds good. So then let's talk about our most exciting conventional moments. Travis, would you like to go first with your top 3?
Oh,
name number 3.
Well, okay, so recently I went to Cool Mini or Not Expo in Atlanta, and I got to hang out a lot with like Eric Lang and Rodney Smith. This was like a very important people dense con for per attendees ratio. So we, and as a small guy, I've kind of always got my work game on, and I'm running around trying to network and things like that. But the last night of the con, we managed to just kind of cut loose, and I wasn't trying to worm my way into anything, and we played some games. So the night before, I had come up with this plan to trick Rodney Smith of Watch It Played by playing Spyfall and setting the deck so that everyone was a spy. So we played an 8-player or 7-player game. Everyone was a spy, we set it up so everyone was a spy. So we seeded a deck that made it where it was all spies. And so we went into this knowing that we were going to just say just weird things. So we didn't have it scripted, but we knew that we were just going to say very confusing things, and that you were supposed to, whenever someone would say that, acknowledge, like, oh, I get what he's saying. And so Rodney did not know what was going on. The first time it was his turn to ask a question, he literally went, how many people are there? Like, he couldn't even think, because we were talking about chocolate milk and racism, altitude sickness, like all these things that just made no sense. So whenever Rodney finally when it was his turn to ask again, he flipped over his card. He's like, we're in the casino, and then we all flipped our cards over, at which point Rodney pointed at us and said in his very Canadian accent, "You jokers." So that was my third favorite, I would say, recent experience that I enjoyed quite a bit.
Sounds hilarious.
Well, we went on to play Time's Up, and it was one of the funniest things. I've never played that game before, and if you have never played Time's Up, I would say it might be my favorite party game now, after playing it only once. It was so much fun, and so many ridiculously weird things happened throughout the course of that game. Like Rodney Smith's one-word clue for the show Will and Grace was gay. It was just really weird to see Rodney out of his normal context in this kind of artificial environment. It was very funny. One guy went to say, he was trying to say Mulder and Scully from X-Files to get someone to guess X-Files, and you only have 30 seconds to try to say something. So
yeah, I know.
He went to say, and he goes, Mlorton Chlorplepsley. He said Mlorton Chlorplepsley, which he's a guy that's on the Alaboom sometimes with Lance and I. His name is Marty, and for the rest of the con, he was known as Mlorton Chlorplepsley because of this ridiculous tongue-tied situation, which I found that to be equally funny. I'll quit talking now.
Okay, Lance.
Yes, sir.
What is with your top 3? And name the first one.
I start with number 3, right?
Correct.
Right? All right.
Yeah. Let's build up to top 1. That sounds always good.
That's fair. Number 3 would easily have to be my first time I ever went to GenCon. I had, and this isn't like
same with me. Same point on my side.
So no, I mean, there wasn't any specific moment or anything like that, but it was one of those things where, it was. I had friends who went, before I ever did anything, I had friends that would go, and then like he would just. I had a buddy who would go by himself. He would literally, he'd fly in there. He had a wife and everything. He'd fly in there. He'd stay at a hotel all by himself, and he would just go to GenCon, and then he would come back, and he'd always have these arm loads. And he mostly went there for like D&D and role playing game stuff. And then he would come back and he'd talk about some of the stuff that he encountered and experienced or whatever. And then after I kind of got into doing this thing, it was one of those things where GenCon would get close, and everybody's like, "Are you gonna go to GenCon? Are you gonna go to GenCon?" And I was just like, I don't know, and it never really fell into place. And then finally one year, Joel Eddy, who is like my first, and I have lots of really good friends that I've met through what I did, but Joel was like the first guy that like I really clicked with, and he and I became really good friends. And he said, I'm going. I'm gonna get a hotel room. I'm going. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And so then I got some time off of work, and and so I went. And I had no idea what to expect. I went there, and it was just one of those things where it's like the sheer buzz of the situation, wandering the hallways and seeing all the people and all the cool displays and all the big giant banners and what have you. and mostly it was just the people, people like coming up to me and like recognizing me and saying hello and shaking my hand and stuff like that, and it was for all kinds of reasons, it was just really exciting and was a lot of fun.
I definitely hear you, and as I said, GenCon is also on number 3 for me, but for a little bit various reasons. So technically I was a veteran at Essen at this point, and I had visited billions, not billions, but tons of conventions before, but only European conventions, most of them German conventions. So, and this is more a fair, a business to consumer affair. So everybody is going there and shopping there. And then I came over to GenCon, and
yes,
GenCon is it called Stampede when they're opening the door, and this zombie walk in the halls, and all that cool stuff going on, and they are playing 24 hours, so every single night they are playing games 24 hours. You see literally zombies walking around, real zombies, on day 3 or 4. So with my German background, that was too much for me. Definitely too much. I've never seen such craziness before in my life.
I can see that. I definitely can see that.
Yeah, I mean, North Americans are freaking out at conventions like this, right?
Well, that's kind of, all in, like, kind of, what I'm going to say, like, all inclusive. All North Americans freak out at conventions. I mean, are you showing your German roots here, or what's going on here?
No, no, I wouldn't say all of them, but it's totally different. So in Germany, it's just the hall's opening at 10 o'clock. They close at 6 p.m. and you go home after that. So there is no board gaming, there is no hotel rooms where you have playing or after shows. There is maybe at some point a booth party, which means standing in the booth with all the other exhibitors, talking an hour, 1.5 hours, having 1 or 2 beers, and that's it.
Well, the beers I can get along with, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sounds to me that we do it better, honestly. I mean, that's my impression from what you're describing. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me. I have no idea. But no, I can see that.
It's just different. But for me, it was so overwhelming. So the first day, I was really shocked. I was shocked by what's going on there. So this is definitely my number 3. Definitely. The whole experience of GenCon.
Cool. No, I mean, that GenCon is pretty amazing. I mean, even if you don't ever want to even if you like, it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to go to a big convention. If you're going to go to a big convention in the United States, I think you should go to that one. I mean, just to see the spectacle.
Yeah,
of
definitely.
GenCon.
Definitely agree. That's, if you want to go a big one, that's the best one. If you want to go to private ones, there are maybe others. Okay, Travis.
I'll go with I was going to say I'll go with my number 2, since it gives Travis a little bit more time to think about it if he wants to.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We can
number 2 would be like after like I was just getting into the hobby. Number 2 was, for me, I went to kind of, as you say, kind of a more local convention called Con of the North, and I went to that. It's held in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and it was like the first time I went to a like convention, like a real convention. Like I traveled, I went out of town, and I went to a convention out of town. And there was some local stuff that happens that's pretty minor where I live. I live in kind of a small town in Minnesota. And so when I went to this, and this isn't huge by any means. It was like, now it's like about 1,200 people. At the time, it was around 600-700 people. It's like that many attendance. But I went to that, and that was like my first real. And I was just starting to do the review thing at that time, so I wasn't like I was just going as somebody that wanted to play a game. And I remember being like weirdly intimidated by the situation. Like I didn't know, where do I go? What do I do? Do I just sit down at a table to play? Do I grab a game? And it was just this weird feeling like I didn't know exactly my place or whatever. And I remember, and I met some people there and played some games with them, and and they're like my friends I still have. That every year I look forward to seeing them at this convention. And so number 2 is like that would be Con of the North, and this would be, oh gosh, it would be 2000. Oh man, I guess it's, what is it, 2015? So I'm guessing 2007, 2008, Con of the North. That was like probably my number 2.
Cool. Sounds like I should come there once in my life as well. It's not too far, I guess, from St. Louis.
I run the board game room, so if you now that's my job, what I do there. So I mean, definitely, come and throw down. The board game room, it's amazing. It's like everybody there just kind of shows up, and it's the same like 40 to 60 people that are there every year, and it's a party from the moment we start up, and then it just keeps going, and it's a lot of fun. So.
What time of the year is it?
It's normally in February, and the one bad thing about it is that it's usually right around Valentine's Day. So for me to go, I usually take my wife, and then I allow her to go, and then we do that, and then afterwards, then we'll do something as a couple, we'll spend an extra day down there, and then do that as for Valentine's Day.
Sounds good. Travis, are you ready for your number 2?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of 2 more. Now, Lance nailed one. So last year we had our first booth at GenCon, so it was very exciting. It went very well, but the thing that was kind of funny was that the moment the doors opened on Thursday, we were swarmed. We had no idea what to expect. This is like right after our first game came out, and someone, like, it was like I felt like I was like on the streets of Mumbai or something selling. Like, people had money up in the air, and they were like, hey, over here, blah blah blah, and then someone just goes, hey, that guy's stealing something. And then I turn and I look, and this guy's just got a game under his arm, and he just like runs into a sea of people and disappears. And I'm like, the game is about superheroes. Why didn't you stop the guy? Like, you should have been a good Samaritan. So we were at the top of a shoplifter's shoplifting list day 1 of GenCon. So in a roundabout way, that's a compliment. A person was willing. It is a compliment. A person was willing to go to jail. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't over there stealing 5 Tribe. He was stealing our game, or maybe it was like 10 o'clock exactly. So, it was moments after 10 o'clock. So we had to have been first on his shoplifting list.
Yeah.
I like to think he had a list, or a buddy had a list of the check marks, and like he came running back. He's like, "Heroes wanted, mark it off." Okay.
It's no joke here. He would have gone to jail for a good. This is not like it's like a misdemeanor crime here, but like there's like a really big fine for shoplifting in the state.
Yep. Well, what I was why he didn't did that at Sunday, or I mean, if he's throwing out of the convention on Sunday, that's not a big deal. But why at the start of the convention? So it makes no sense at all for me. But anyway.
Yeah, go for broke on like the 3rd day. But I guess maybe he saw. You know what was incredible was that the shoplifter had so much faith in us that we would sell out that he knew that if he didn't steal then and there, his potential to steal at a later time would be diminished. And he had that side. We did not.
Crazy.
No
crazy
on that one.
Yeah. So I guess you should. He was kind of a genius, is what you're trying to say. I think
he was a shoplifting psychic, basically. I know you don't believe in psychics, Lance, but he was.
Well, psychics, they don't exist, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, my number 2 is my first Essen convention. I worked for Asmodee. So I worked for Asmodee, and it was the year when they published Eclipse, so the space opera thing. So, and we had 400 pre-orders for Eclipse, and 10 minutes before the official hall opens their gates, we had a lineup for 100. pre-orders there. So we had a huge lineup, and I was the first year in charge for the sales desk at Essen for Asmodee. So I was totally swamped with people there, and 1.5 hours later, my boss came over and asked me, hey, why we have still 380 copies of Eclipse? I said, hey, that's all pre-orders. Yeah, but we have here 500 customers, they wanted to buy that. So, and I was juggling with all these people yelling, a little bit like you, Travis. They are waving with the money and said, hey, instead of 60 euro here, take 80 and give me a copy and all of that. And I said, hey, if you want that, boss, I can do that. I do it the whole day, and after this night, I will quit immediately and you will never see me again. You can handle that more tomorrow, and you will be hanged by the crowd. So
that's crazy. So he wanted to just sell them, and it just wanted to.
Yeah, and screw all the pre-orders guys, and I said, you can't do that. I mean, whatever you are saying, you are the boss, but I would quit immediately. So, and they will hang you. The crowd will definitely hang you tomorrow. Yeah.
Get a rope. Where's my Eclipse?
Yeah, correct.
They sold it.
So, and he turned around. Again, it was my first year ever for Asmodee at Essen, so I was a little bit nervous. He turned around immediately, walked away without any word, without any expression on his face, and I thought, oh, that was a huge mistake. And 2.5 hours later, he came back and said, do whatever you want. You are the boss here. Make whatever you want. So, yeah, that was a strange moment in my life, and it was cool. Yeah, it was really cool at the end of the day.
Well, good for you, man, for standing up and then doing what's right. That's really cool.
Yeah, technically I fight it for the crowd. I fight it for the 400 subscribers to get the hands first on that game. So everybody who's watching that and remember that moment can say, thanks, Nils, for save my copy.
No, I'm not even joking. That's really cool that you that you made that point. I mean, because think of all the people that would have been really, really annoyed if they didn't have their thing, man.
To be honest, if he had given me that order, and say everybody, hey, sorry, we don't have any copies. I know we promised you that. I know you got a confirmation email, but sorry, we don't have any copies for you. So I had a day job, so money was not what I'm working for there. It was fun, and it wouldn't be any fun if I'm standing there and have 3 days of bad talking.
No, it'd stink. I would just having to deal with people yelling at you and screaming at you.
Yeah, correct.
That's no fun.
Correct. So, but at the end of the day, the story is one of my favorite stories from conventions ever. So it's definitely my number 2.
I'll have to ask you who that guy was offline, because if he's an Asmodee regular, I've got a good idea of who it might be.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was L. Ron Hubbard, wasn't it?
It was not Ron Hubbard. Offline, I can give you the name. Yes.
Very cool.
Okay, Lance.
I'll do my last one, and that's fine. So for me, and this kind of builds off of, and this is more, and I apologize. This is more familial and not exactly like exciting, but the one that probably was the best for me is last year at Con of the North. I've done some like little tiny minor conventions myself. Just had people over at my house or people over at my local game store. There's a decent chance that I will eventually have a little local convention that I do once a year. That I'm slowly but surely, it's been building and building, and I do it myself. But I took my daughter to Con of the North last year, and I actually bought her a badge and got her, and we signed her in and everything like that. And she actually went to the board game room with me, and she spent like 3 days playing board games with me. And she had like her first real like convention experience, and it was like, so it wasn't like Gen Con. And Gen Con at some point in the future I will bring her with, and she turns 8 here in like 2 days, so she's not quite old enough. So
I hear you,
but yeah, that was probably the most fun. Like and the thing was really fun was that she'd come over and she'd play the games with me, and she plays a lot of the games with me, a lot of games that are more, adult and what have you or whatever. And but she actually sat down and she was playing these games with me, and then like she'd get up and she'd leave and go and play games with other people and like play like with adults, like go and play these games that she knew, and she'd walk over and ask to play, and and it was kind of fun, keeping one eye on her to see if she was having fun, making sure she was okay, and just trying to stay awake, as late as she possibly could to play as many games as she could, playing a super long game of Arcadia Quest, which she loves to play. So yeah, I mean, it was just that was a great family moment, and like I really can't wait. Maybe when she's 10, I think I'll take her to Gen Con, and I think she'll have a lot of fun. So
I hear you.
So yeah, that's my number one.
I definitely cannot wait any single day more to show my little girl that, but I have to wait at least 6 more years, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that like she her interest in it, it grows and it wanes, and it's just like, and like, but when she finds a game that she really likes, I mean, then she's just like, let's play this game, let's play this game, let's play this game.
Oh, cool.
Because she's just super, yeah, and so I like to there are times when I'm tired or I've got stuff going on or whatever. I'm just like, just like. But then I think, there's going to be a time when she is not going to want to play these anymore. So, I better just, suck it up here and dig out, take out the game and sit down and play it with her because, take the chance when I got it, right?
Definitely, 100% agree. I do the same. Even if my little girl is only 2.5 years, but we started a couple of games recently, and every time she's on fire, she didn't understand the rules, and she's only screaming and touching every. She's enjoying the time, and the board game is on the table. That's all.
Nope. Yeah, I get it. So, we'll finish with Travis since he's Mr. Convention. What's your number one there, Nils?
Oh God, it's like weird because I want to reference like a horrible story instead of.
Well, since if you were paying attention, I just actually asked Nils. We're finishing with you, so.
Oh.
So Nils, what was your number one convention experience?
Yeah, number one is not a specific moment in my life. Number one is every single convention I'm going there, and usually it's a Wednesday night or the Wednesday evening or even the Wednesday itself, so the day before the show actually starts. And here in North America, it's usually Wednesday. So I'm always there with an exhibitor pass, like Travis as well. So, and then you're going around, it's totally relaxed, only exhibitors are in the hall, you see all your friends, you're talking to all of them, and it's like a coming together with family members. You have seen some of them you saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, and some of them you saw only once a year, but this is such a great moment for me. Every single convention, a couple of these, I call them always very important or it convention people. So they are every single night at the bar. I'm pretty sure Travis knows exactly who I'm talking about. So, and all these people meeting again, that's priceless for me. Priceless.
No, I get it, man. I understand that completely. Yeah, I mean the anticipation for now, it's like, even though it's like, it's still a week away, but for me it's just like I'm just a bundle of energy, waiting for the convention to start. And I imagine for you, Travis, it's got to be totally different. I mean, for you, it's like you're going there as a real job,
It's like I feel like I'm awaiting like a trial where I'm going to find out if I have to go to prison for like 30 years. It's like a totally different feeling for me. Like I know that I'm going to be. The fact that I live here, it's like different because you guys get to step away from your real lives, right? And you're just in this environment. Like when I'm here, I have to go there, and then I have to go home and be myself, and sort of like put myself on the cordless phone charger, stand and recharge my body barely, and then go back and do it over and over again. So, meanwhile, my wife is like annoyed, and I get to see her be annoyed, and I don't get to. I wake up and my daughter's still asleep, so I don't get to see her, and so I'm in this like really weird limbo kind of state. But I mean, I still love it. It's just it's work. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but to be honest, for me it's the same. So for me it's always conventions. It's always, and it doesn't matter if I'm going there for pleasure or working or whatever, or helping out like Asmodee or things like that. So it's always the same for me. If I'm there, I'm fully in professional 4 days mode. So there is no just relax time for me.
No,
so
that's totally cool.
I'm in your house, Travis.
Yes.
What's your number one, Travis?
I don't know. It's a lot of pressure. I don't really like lists. I just have this composite stuff I like, and more importantly, the stuff I hate.
Then give us one more thing you hate or you love.
Can I give you? Can I just give you a story?
Give us a story.
So, and I'm sure you guys know this story. You've heard the story, but this also is from this year. And I went to Origins. So we left for Origins, and I had been having this like weird pain in my chest for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. It would kind of like come, and then it would leave after like an hour, and I kind of was just like, oh, whatever. It's something. It's nothing. So the day we go to leave for Origins, I just have this horrible pain in my chest. Like it just feels like something, like everything inside my brain is telling me something's wrong with my body. Well, I chose to ignore it. I get in the car, and we're driving. And as we're driving, like I just keep seeing, like, when you're on the interstate and you see those signs that say hospital next exit. Every time I saw one of those, I acknowledged it. I was like, maybe we should just stop at the hospital really quickly because something's wrong. So we get to the con. I go to bed. I wake up the next day, and just something's wrong. And we have like a Dice Tower Network preview for all of our 3 new games that we have coming out, and like I had to just kind of get it together. I tried to go to urgent care. I tried to go to a regular physician that was on my insurance. No one would see me. They're like, chest pains, get the hell out of here, go to the hospital. So I decide, like, you know what, it's nothing, because if it was something really with my heart, like I would be dead by now. There's no way that I could have this prolonged heart issue. So long story short, I decided to like go to the con, set up the booth, Nick did the Dice Tower preview, walk around, talk to people, and then a game designer sat down to show us 6 games. 6 games. Halfway through this, and my arm had been kind of going numb and tingly for the last couple days too, and now I have a pinched nerve in my left shoulder, so that happens all the time. And this is a very long story, but there's a payoff, kind of. So I go to the restroom. When I come out of the restroom, half my face just goes completely numb. My lips are numb. My left arm is numb. And I can feel that my toes on my left side are also numb. And I'm like, I'm having a heart attack or I'm having a stroke, like one of the two things. And I go to talk, and I literally just went like I made like this noise, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm having a stroke. And so I go and I get my partner who's in the middle of dimming this game, and I go, we have to go to the hospital right now, because then I could talk after a few minutes. I was like, we have to go to the hospital. So we're like wandering around this parking structure, and I keep hitting my unlock on my car, and I can hear it, and my partner and the other people that are with us can't hear it, and they're like, he's freaking out, dude. He's like hearing things. He thinks he's probably not even the right place. So long story short, I go to the hospital. I have to end up spending the night in the hospital. They don't even end up telling me what's wrong with me. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever spent the night in the hospital in my life. I'd never been to the emergency room since I was a kid, from getting like my thumb dislocated and stuff. So it was like a very big thing. Now, the important part of this was I really, because I have a daughter that's a year old and my wife, and like the whole time, what compelled me to go to the hospital, other than I thought I was having a stroke, but to want to get this checked out, was I was like, holy crap, what if I never see my family again? And I was, I realized how important it was to me, my family. Not that I didn't know, but it was made abundantly clear that it was the most important thing to me, the number one priority, which you get taken out of when you're at these situations, right, Nils? Like, you're away, you're busy, you're working, you see a lot of people, you're talking, you're playing games, it's your hobby, and it very much like it. And because I'm a new dad and I've only been married for a couple of years, it didn't really. That was the first time that it really it hit me. It was like a big important moment in my life, just like when my daughter was born. So yes, me having like a fake heart attack at Origins the day before Origins started was the most memorable con experience I've ever had. Sorry to be a downer or like too emotional or whatever, but that was the truth.
No, I mean that would be like the huge thing that happened, obviously.
I definitely hear
crazy.
that's your number one, and to be honest, I remember that because we both saw each other on Wednesday and talked to each other on Wednesday, and you asked me about Sen and Daryl, and I remember that moment. And on the next day, I came around and hey, where's Travis? Where's Travis? And your partner showed up. He's in the hospital, and I was shocked. I was really shocked.
Yeah, it was like a pretty big deal. But like other than the $3,000 medical bill I got, I stayed the night there, and it was like it put a lot of things into perspective in my life. It really did. And like that night where I kind of sat there by myself, and my partner got like teary-eyed when he saw me sitting in the bed, and it was like it put a lot of things into perspective. Like almost kind of like my third thing where I was like, hey, I'm running around trying to figure out a way for Rodney Smith to do a video for me, and then I realized the best way to honestly meet people is just to relax and actually remember to enjoy that we work in a hobby industry, and it's actually fun is like the pervasive element of all of it, and to try to enjoy that instead of trying to constantly be in work mode. So they were like, I bookend my stories with two sort of learning experiences, if you will. The latter being the more profound, of course.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. A little bit of interesting that we are ending in a sad story like this, but the good part is you are here, right? And you're back in this industry for us.
I'm good. Yes, I'm like I don't believe that my life is in risk. I think it was a combination of a bunch of small things combining, like sort of Voltroning into a seemingly scary thing. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to end the con with this in this discussion with like this sort of seemingly dark story. But you see the point though, right? There's like actually a nice part of it, like realizing how important and that I should remembering my true responsibilities and my true where my my family, my new little fledgling family was. It was the first time that other than when my daughter had been born, that it really kind of reminded me the importance of that. So it was for me it was a very big personal moment.
Absolutely, I hear you.
Well, that's depressing. Thanks a lot, bud.
Okay, guys.
Well,
awesome stories. Awesome stories and really personal stories. Thanks so much for joining me to this first panel of Board Game Experts episode. I hope we will have in the future a couple of more personal stories like this. So I will try to avoid all of this boring, hey, list 10 games.
Have Travis on and ask him what's your 3 biggest failures and what do you most regret. Just have him.
No, ask me about my father. Just ask me about my dad.
Yes, ask him about how he's his father every single day of his life, and then have him, and then just walk away and let him talk for like 3 hours, and then see if anybody's still listening.
Hey, listen. I like my answers.
We like
No,
your
What was
answer.
my answer supposed to be like? Hey, I remember this time I went and I bought hats with Tom Vassell. Come on, like, what am I supposed to say?
No, that'd be a fun time actually.
Okay, guys.
Give him the Blossom hat.
Yeah, I bought a wicker hat with Tom Blossom. I called him Tom Blossom.
Oh, I could,
All right,
I could
Nils,
tell you a story about Tom as well, but we push that to the next episode. Okay, guys, again,
next episode.
thanks so much for joining me, and see you definitely again on my show. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having us.
Thanks.
Bye.